And we conservatives want to be in the know, right? We don't want to put bags over our heads. We're not drones, right? Senator Rand Paul on Thursday blasted his own party for making it tougher for minorities to vote. I said, wow. The Republican Party's making it tougher for minorities to vote? Where's so? This I gotta read. The Kentucky Republican, a likely presidential candidate, has long argued that drug laws disproportionately affect minorities and has also championed restoring voting rights for some nonviolent felons. Now, I want to tell my friend Rand Paul, and he is a friend of mine, the federal government's not in charge of that. The state governments are. He fancies himself a constitutionalist. I can give him hook, line, and sinker on this. The determining factor on who gets to vote, beyond certain basic federal requirements, are state rules. State rules when it comes to felonies. The federal government does not have the constitutional authority to wipe away state rules when it comes to the commission of felonies. And just because he believes in drug legalization doesn't mean that he can then use federal powers to impose his will on the states when he argues against doing that when it comes to other federal powers being imposed on the states. That's number one. Number two, what is this that Republicans don't want minorities to vote? Quote, he said, so many times Republicans are seen as this party of, we don't want black people to vote because they're voting Democrat. We don't want Hispanic people to vote because they're voting Democrat. We wonder why the Republican Party is so small. Why don't we be the party that's for people voting, for voting rights? What is he talking about? Voting with voter IDs? Has some study been done that this disproportionately affects minorities? Because I haven't seen it. I know this is a position that the radical left argues. I know this is a position that the radical Eric Holder argues, but why would you take that myth and propound it? I mean, I'm as critical as anybody of the Republican Party, but the Republican Party's not trying to stop minorities from voting. This is just utterly outrageous. In fact, even in the court cases I've been involved in, personally with Landmark Legal Foundation, promoting voter IDs, even the slip and fall radical nutjob lawyers in those cases don't make the point. Have no evidence whatsoever. None. Zero. The bottom line is we're not winning, Paul said. We're not winning because it's pretty simple. We don't have enough people in the group yet. The Liberty Movement has been more open to receiving people of all walks of life. I think we've been much more open sometimes than the Republican Party in general. That's all true. But stick to the facts. Just because you think drugs should be legalized, fine. Just because you think there's a disproportionate number of minorities in prison because of drug use and drug production and pushing drugs and so forth, doesn't mean the rest of the nation agrees with you. But that said, the purpose of that isn't to prevent minorities from voting. The purpose of that is to keep drugs off the street. And you're a U.S. Senator. If you want to change the laws of a state, then run for governor. Then run for governor. This is called federalism, Senator. You know what that's all about. Federalism. And I like Rand Paul. He has a lot of good ideas.